So we were just talking, about your book, about actually you have several different books about
Hmm.
dehumanization, and I was explaining to you that you make a case for dehumanization, and you make a great case for dehumanization, but there's also the other side of finding humanity. And I was explaining to you, and you're telling me that everyone should be seen as human because everyone is human.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find the right words because when it comes to looking at someone as human, I don't really necessarily mean human in the literal sense, but trying to see their perspective in why they do evil things, to the point that you start to agree with some of the things that you do. And when you talk about dehumanization and looking at people less than human, you don't look at them as human, and that's why you're able to do evil things to our population. And then the person that is doing that, or the group of people that are doing that, if you group them together and you humanize them, you're able to see why they did it and agree to why they did it. And I just wanted to get your perspective on how you see that.
Well, everyone, no matter what anyone does, they do it for some reason. Uh, it can be very bad reasons, but they do it for some reason. There's something about their lives, the influences they've been exposed to, and so on, that have caused them to have the beliefs that they do and perform the actions that they do perform, and so on. And I think it's really important to understand that. That's not to excuse anyone, but look, if we really want to seriously address the terrible things that human beings do to one another, we have to make an effort to understand why they do it. What's going on with them? And look, here's just a fact. Typically, let's just talk about genocide for a minute. It's hard
Yeah.
to think of anything worse than that. People who commit genocide usually think that they are doing good. They think they're saving the world from evil. They again and again and again and again. And it's something I study quite a bit. So, it's not like there are people, maybe there's some people like this, I doubt it, who just sit there and I want to do something really bad. I want to do something really evil. No, they have incorrect ideas about about what's right.
Yeah. Uh, let's talk about genocide for a bit,
Hmm.
because I mean, at least going through history, we know that every type of genocide that has ever happened has been bad.
Hmm.
Is there ever like a genocide in history? Is there one that we look back and like, yeah, that was the right move?
Well, yeah, people do. They shouldn't, but they do. So the let's there are people who say defend the the institution of slavery in the United States. There are people, not very many, thank God, but there are people who do that. They say, well, we lifted these people out of savagery and so on. Now, you might say, well, what does that have to do with genocide? Well, the actual definition of genocide is the intent to destroy a people in whole or in part. And you can do this without killing them.
Right.
You can do this by wrecking their culture, by reducing them to a state of degradation, and so on. There are people who defend genocides in the past, but generally speaking, I think people like you and I,
Right.
and most of the people we would interact with, do not do that. Um, and thankfully, we don't. But when a genocide is going on, it's always defended by the perpetrators. They're always making the case they're doing the right thing.
Because the literal meaning of the word genocide is the mass killing of a population, right?
No, no, it doesn't have to be killing. It doesn't have to be killing. This is really important. So here's a genocidal act, taking their children away and forcing them to become part of the dominant culture. This is often a misconception. You can have a genocide without anyone getting killed. You destroy a culture. That is a genocide
Yeah.
as well.
So what I mean is, so like the literal meaning to like what genocide means. That's like the literal meaning. But
No,
the
it's not. It's not. It's a misconception of genocide. If you go to how genocide is defined in the United Nations resolution on genocide, it doesn't. The way it's set out is it doesn't have to involve killing. Let me give you an example.
yeah.
Um, so once that genocide was adopted, the genocide resolution was adopted by the United Nations. That was in 1951. The very first case that was brought to them, which they ignored, was African Americans charging genocide, charging that the United States government committed genocide against them. Now, of course, African Americans were killed. Lynching took the lives of over 4,000 people, mostly men, in the American South. But it didn't rest on that. What it rested was on the claim, the correct claim, in my view, that the United States treatment of the descendants of enslaved people destroyed a culture, destroyed, in fact, many cultures.
Yeah, and that was the point that I was trying to make, because there's two different things, and that this is why there's a misconception of genocide,
Yeah,
meaning the mass murder of a population,
yeah,
but it's because the United Nations, they recognize genocide as the destruction of a culture, and
yeah.
it could even be financial destruction and so forth, right?
Yes, yes, it can. Although, as you're perfectly right, that normally when we think of genocide, we think of mass killing. Yeah.
Has there ever been like the financial destruction of a culture that the United Nations has recognized?
Uh, I don't know. I don't know. Genocide is very hard. It's very difficult to charge people with genocide because you have to prove intent. You have
Yeah.
to prove that the perpetrators intended to do that. So it's much easier to bring the charge, say, of crimes against humanity to people. There, the mass killing is enough.
So say that charges do or are brought up.
Mhm.
Who gets charged for that? Like the people that conducted the genocide, like people in the nation's military.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So of course it's not everyone, but it's the main perpetrators. So we had that with the genocide in Bosnia.
Yeah.
The main perpetrators, the people who give the orders, because you can't charge everyone. I mean,
Right.
there are too many people.
Yeah. So if you're like in the army and you're just following orders, are you safe from any charges?
I don't know.
Yeah.
These are legal questions, and
Yeah.
here's a principle I have. I try never to talk out of my ass.
Yeah.
Things I don't have expert knowledge on. This, I, I, I don't want to mislead anyone.
Yeah,
So
because
I just don't know how this works.
yeah, because these are complex questions, and it goes back to if you're committing a genocide and you're just following orders,
Mhm.
like are you like a bad person? Because it's hard to see what you're doing uh, if you're living in a nation that has these aligned views on something, and when it comes to our own and we see our military invade other countries, we don't
Yeah,
really even see them as human. It's like, well, this is what we're supposed to do. And
yeah,
if you go to other countries, you're just following orders. Like, so how does that even play into, like, the orders come down, and like there's a certain narrative that is put in place, but someone at the top needs to know what they're doing and saying, like, this type of or this population, we should not see them as human. And
yeah.
that's how you're able to convince a greater population that your actions are the right actions to take.
That's right. Yeah, they're monsters. They're not humans. They need to be exterminated. That's the mindset. When dehumanization is involved, that's the mindset. But there are always people who resist. Always. Yeah, and if we take the Holocaust, there were Germans German soldiers
Yeah.
who were recruited to murder Jewish people, and they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. And in that case, they weren't lined up against the wall and shot. Their superiors thought, well, they're just weak. We'll give them a desk job someplace. Um, but there are cases, of course, when if you refuse, it endangers your own life. But that's the moral struggle of anyone who's in the killing business, right? We can't abandon our own responsibility for choosing if we're going to obey an order or not at whatever cost.
Yeah, and most of the time it doesn't even come down to killing. But if you're
Yeah.
able to have a narrative that a certain group is less than human, because there is a difference. There's less than human and or lesser than human and less than human, which is two different things,
Yes,
right?
that's right. So lesser, often people regard other people as lesser humans, as inferior humans. Ordinary racism is like that. So yeah, they're human, but they're defective. They're inferior in some way. Dehumanization, I like to describe it as racism on steroids. You're excluding people from the human altogether. You're saying that they are, they're below the human. They're less than human. And when we say less than human, what I mean there is that they're seen as having less value than a human being. Their lives don't matter.
Yeah, and it's how you're able to compare humans to animals or like savages, as some
Yeah,
humans have
that's
been called.
I think it's in my view, it's even more than simply a comparison. They are regarded literally as not human. And that always, in my view, in real dehumanization, it ends up with them being seen as monstrous, because think of it, if you think of another person as something like a rat,
Yeah.
well, you don't mean you're not thinking of them as having a tail and four legs and scampering around. You're thinking of them as like rat people, and that's a
Right.
monster. That's like terrifying,
Yeah.
right? So that's really what goes on, I think, in dehumanization. They're rat people, or they're lice people, or they're wolf people, or whatever. And see, one way to wrap your mind around that. Imagine you're being chased by a wolf
Right.
through the woods, say, well, that'd be scary. But now imagine you're being chased by a werewolf, part human, part wolf being. That is, that's that's worse. That's so deeply disturbing. That's it's not just fear, it's horror. And I think that's how dehumanization ends up. And that's why you have this incredible cruelty that's dished out to dehumanize people. If you're fighting monsters, like anything goes, right? There's no
Yeah.
mercy.
Yeah. So and you make a great point, because when it comes to rats, there's people that have rats as pets, and there's other
Yeah,
people that just want to exterminate all the rats that are in their house,
That's right.
right?
So my daughter used to have pet rats,
Hmm.
and my grandmother, who grew up in a rat-infested slum
Hmm.
in New York, was terrified of rats. She was
Hmm.
absolutely terrified. She was a tough lady,
Yeah.
but because she had experiences as a child of rats coming and nibbling at her feet while she's
Hmm.
asleep. So you can have all kinds of attitudes towards rats,
Hmm.
but a rat person,
Hmm.
that's something out of a horror movie,
Oh
right?
yeah.
That's that's in a different category altogether. And unfortunately, I think that's what happens with dehumanization.
So what are the processes that come down to dehumanizing an individual?
Okay, well, dehumanizing is usually, at least, when we're thinking of say, genocidal
Hmm.
violence, it's a whole group, and it's usually what we philosophers call a racialized group, a group of people who are thought of as belonging to a different and inferior race.
Yeah.
And but it's kind of puzzling, isn't it? Because
Hmm.
if you look at anyone, they're obviously human. Like I look at you, you look at me, and
Hmm.
it's how could you think that I'm not a human being? Let's say you're a Nazi.
Hmm.
I know you're not. And I'm a Jewish guy, which I am.
Hmm.
And so if you're a hardcore Nazi, you think I'm subhuman, right? You think
Hmm.
I'm the German term was Untermensch, subhuman.
Hmm.
Well, but I look like a human being. So what's going on? I look like a human being, I act like a human being. Well, what's going on psychologically speaking
Hmm.
is you think I might look human, but on the inside,
Hmm.
I'm not. I'm something else.
Hmm.
I'm something dangerous and subhuman.
Hmm.
So I'm kind of you see me as kind of a counterfeit human being,
Yeah.
a good imitation, but really, really when it comes down to it, I'm something else, something lower, something dangerous, something filthy. So
Hmm.
that's psychologically. I mean, there's a lot of psychological research that really goes into depth about the kind of processes that I think play a role in dehumanization. But that's the nub of it, really.
I mean, the Stanford prison experiment is one of them, right? Could it be?
Uh, yeah, but that's been criticized. That study's been criticized a lot because it turned out he coached the 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 young people who did what they did. Uh, but
Really?
we don't have to go to experiments. We can
Hmm.
go. We can go to Gaza. We can go to what's going on in Sudan. We can go to the Holocaust. We can go to any number of real life examples.
Hmm.
Rwanda. Um, and all of those cases, the perpetrators thought of those whom they killed and tortured and raped
Hmm.
as less than human beings.
Yeah, and I mean the same thing could be applied to like real life prisons because once you go to
Oh, yeah.
prison, you're given a number and that's your identity. So you don't not even have a name, or you're not recognized by the state by your name. You're recognized by the number that you're given,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
right?
No, that's absolutely right. And you're brutalized.
Hmm.
Prison harms people.
And so that's one of the ways that they use the prison system to dehumanize people. And because now there's two parts of it. There's the people that are doing the dehumanization, and then there's the people that are doing the dehumanizing, or that are being dehumanized.
Yes.
And
Right.
when you're dehumanized, that changes your own psychology and the way that you
Yes,
even
that's
see
right.
yourself, right?
Yeah. So the experience of dehumanization. So here's a really interesting example. Um, So, way back in 1941, there was a horror film made. It was real successful. It was called The Wolf Man. And every werewolf movie after that drew on that, right? That was like the
Hmm.
original werewolf movie. But it's really an interesting movie because the werewolf is kind of a sympathetic character. He's been cursed with this condition,
Yeah.
and he's not evil. He and he's eventually killed by the mob.
Hmm.
Now, when you understand how that film got made, it suddenly takes on a lot of depth because the man who wrote the screenplay was a
Hmm.
Jewish refugee from Germany. And what the movie does is it portrays the experience of being dehumanized, the experience
Yeah.
of being seen as a monster. And we
Hmm.
and we know this because he said towards the end of his life, he said, "I'm the Wolfman.
Hmm.
I had a fate that I didn't want to be a Jew in Nazi Germany."
Yeah.
So the experience of being dehumanized, yeah, it's like the experience of racism. It's an assault on your humanity.
Hmm.
Um, and
Yeah.
that hasn't been studied enough by any means.
Yeah. I mean, it's truly a fascinating subject because there's always the two sides of it. There's the ones doing the dehumanization and then the people that are being dehumanized and
Yeah,
how that changes you. And
yeah,
it's like a permanent change because it could also happen within society and why a group of people see themselves as less than human because that's how
yeah,
society has treated them forever,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I agree with you on that point, certainly.
Yeah, and you could also use this as to understand why some people that have done some really evil things are able to be seen as a sympathetic. You're able to understand why they did the certain things, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Hmm.
So, yeah, we really have to distinguish bad acts from just saying any person is just inherently evil. There's something that brought them to where they
Hmm.
were.
Is
Um,
I mean, is this even in our DNA? Like, is it inherent to us to just?
no, no, I'm certain it isn't because if we actually look at real cases
Mhm.
of say dehumanization and mass violence that comes out of that, people have to get us to dehumanize others. People in positions of power and authority,
Mhm.
propagandists. And that can be, fancy people in government positions or scientists or religious leaders, or it could be just, local people in one's community. But it
Mhm.
doesn't happen naturally. We naturally recognize the humanness of others, the sight of a human face, a pair of
Yeah.
eyes. That's really, by the way, that's why it's so hard, say, in a combat situation,
Mhm.
for people to look into a person to look into another person's eyes and kill them
Mhm.
because you're confronted with their humanness there. And it
Because
actually traumatizes the
yeah,
killer.
because you also mentioned in your book, and it's like at the very beginning of the book that it was a soldier speaking how in the Rwanda
Mhm.
situation during the Rwanda the genocide, right?
The genocide, yeah.
That a soldier could look a baby in its eyes and you see it smiling
Yeah,
and then just kill it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like,
And there are some people who can do that without dehumanizing, because they don't give a shit.
yeah.
But it's very few. It's very few. So when we look at things like that, you have to ask yourself, how was that person able to do that? How were they able to take a baby and just crush their skull with a club or hack them with a machete? So something has to be going on there.
Mhm.
And see, when people get into that humanizing space, first of all, they really do believe it. I mean, they really do believe these others are less than human. Um, and that enables them to do things which otherwise they couldn't do. They couldn't bring themselves to do.
So it looks like my camera was not recording and it's recording now. It's already like 20 minutes in, so I hope everyone's just still listening. But we were speaking about the Rwanda genocide, and yeah. So when it comes to committing like crimes of violence, like stuff like that, people are still like I mean, I just don't understand how like you could actually be doing the killing. It's one thing reading about it and not feeling any sort of emotion.
Yeah.
It's another thing to actually be doing the killing yourself.
Yeah.
And I asked, is it in our DNA? Because it seems like at some point, like it kind of is, but it's not.
No, it's not. And really, I mean, strictly speaking, there's all that DNA does is make proteins.
Hmm.
That's all it is. We think of traits as being somehow in the DNA, but
Yeah.
that's never really the case. Uh, so let me reframe
Hmm.
what you just said to me. It seems sometimes like it's just in human nature to dehumanize others.
Right.
No, I mean it. If you look at the actual historical examples, someone gets people to do these things. They
Hmm.
convince them. They propagandize. They tell them, "Oh, these other folks, that might look human, they're not really human. They're
Hmm.
not really human, and we need to get rid of them. They're monsters. They're gonna rape your women and kill your babies, and
Right.
the sort of propaganda that unfortunately we hear more and more um, in this country nowadays.
Hmm.
Um, so so in fact, we have to over we can ask ourselves, like, why is dehumanization there? And
Hmm.
that's to overcome barriers. It's to disable inhibitions against doing terrible things to one another. So, as human beings, we're
Right.
social animals. We're cooperative animals.
Hmm.
People have to get us to do these things, and they can be very successful at doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just one thing that I'm just trying to wrap my head around because, like, the most current genocide that I could think of is, like Auschwitz. That's the one that we all know of.
Yes, yes,
But I mean, it's happened through history. And it's all
yes, it
over.
has.
It happens again and again, and it just seems like we never really learn from it.
Yeah, that's right. And one reason that we don't learn is because we distance ourselves, you see.
Hmm.
We think, oh, those are just evil people
Hmm.
and they're not like us. But, let's wake up here.
Hmm.
They're showing us what human beings are capable of doing. We need to understand what's going on.
Yeah.
If we're serious, if we're really serious about putting a stop to this stuff,
Hmm.
we really need to make an effort to understand what's going on. What is it that makes people capable of doing these things? Once we understand that, then we have some tools to combat it. But if we just
Hmm.
close our eyes and say, "Oh, it has nothing to do with me. They're just evil people that commit acts of mass murder," then we're getting nowhere, you see.
Hmm. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, it's something that will continue to happen. And it seems like it's just happens. It's happened through history. It's going to continue to happen. It's probably happening now. We see,
It is. It is happening now in a couple places in the
mhm,
world. Yeah.
yeah, and getting away from something that's just so depressing to think about because the mass murder
Yeah.
of people. I mean, it's just really sad to really think about it. But come bringing that to our current political system and dehumanizing the other party is one thing that we could actually relate to because we see it day in day out, and
Yes.
it's to a point that you have to have an opinion. Like you either like one, the politician, or you dislike them to, I mean, probably to the point of hating that
Yeah,
politician and everything they stand for.
yeah,
So there's a process of dehumanizing there as well.
yeah. There sometimes is. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and that's why podcasts are as successful as they are, because you are able to bring those politicians in and humanize them and
Yeah,
make them appear like, they're just as you and I.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And they are.
Yeah.
At bottom, they are. Yeah, and we can totally disapprove of them, and 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 we can hold the view that they're dangerous
Mm-hmm.
and they should not be in office and so on. I certainly hold those views,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't think they're monsters.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're human beings. They're human beings that are doing terrible things often,
Mm-hmm.
and they need to be constrained, but they're not monsters. And I
Yeah.
speak up about that. My
Mm-hmm.
look, I think our president is a very dangerous man.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but he's not a monster, and I speak up about that.
Yeah.
People say Donald Trump is no, he's a human being.
Yeah. Yeah. No, but there's people that definitely think that he's a monster. And the same thing,
Yeah,
the same thing happened with Joe Biden. We could go to Obama. Like
oh yeah,
every single
yeah,
president. Like you either have an
yeah.
opinion that you're dislike them
You're
and you
either
like them.
you're either totally great or totally evil,
Hmm.
right? No space in between. That's what our two-party system does,
Hmm.
aided and abetted by the kind of propaganda that we're exposed to every day.
Yeah, which is also very terrifying because now we don't even know what's true from what isn't.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
And AI has a lot to answer for there.
Hmm.
Um,
Because.
you see some film. It can be totally fake.
Mhm.
That can be done seamlessly now.
Yeah. So now, speaking about AI, like, what do you see happening with AI in the formation of the information? Because now we're not even speaking about the information coming from humans or human generated information. Now we're having
Yeah,
this thing that AI does not even understand, like human
yeah,
nature.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. AI doesn't understand anything. It just produces. And I again, I think it's really dangerous. I mean, I see what's happening to my students' minds.
Hmm.
I'm a college professor.
Yeah.
I see what's happening to their minds, and it isn't pretty.
Hmm.
It isn't pretty. They're losing the capacity for attention,
Hmm.
for wrestling with ideas. It's making them really very passive. Not all of them, not all of them.
Hmm.
Um, it's really bad because look, there's certain things we need to be able to do to
Hmm.
be responsible citizens.
Yeah.
That we're in a democracy, the country's in our hands,
Hmm.
and delegating things to artificial intelligence, and really that's delegating things to the billionaires who own these platforms.
Right.
It ain't a good idea,
Yeah.
but I don't see how it's going to be stopped. Unfortunately, I'm really pessimistic.
So do you see this getting any worse? Because now we're talking
Yes, I
about,
do.
yeah, like now we're talking about losing that human connection. Now we're just
That's right.
right.
They stop understanding how to have conversation
Hmm.
with other human beings,
Yeah.
right? They stop being capable of solidarity with other
Hmm.
human beings. Yeah, I think it's very destructive, and we found it's just starting. But I'm a pessimistic kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm hopeful. That is, I think we have to give it our best shot to
Hmm.
make the world a better place. But I'm not optimistic.
Hmm. Yeah. So you do see like this getting any like worse.
Yeah, I do.
And I just wonder, like, where do we go from here? Because it just seems that, like, losing that human connection with other people, and
Mm.
AI just making it worse because social media was already like making it bad as it
Yeah,
is.
social media was already, yes, yeah, that's right. So most of my students are addicted to their phones. But seriously addicted. I mean, it's hard for them to put them down. And so what that means is their main relationship is with the machine,
Yeah.
not with other human beings. And then you lose certain skills and abilities and, to have a conversation like we're having now, where we're
Yeah.
interested in each other and you're asking meaningful questions and I'm trying to respond to those meaningful questions. That's all those things are run counter to these like really important human factors.
Yeah. Because if social media didn't make it bad as it is, now just interacting with an AI chatbot that's not even human, it's just a programmed language
Yeah,
model.
yeah,
And there's no human connection at all anymore.
nothing else, right?
And with that, and just a constant feed of news stories of people dying and war crimes and everything going on,
Hmm.
and your ability to just dismiss that as, I mean, it is
Yeah,
what it
yeah, yeah.
is.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Just dismiss it. So it's almost like a, a TV show. Well, I'll just turn to another channel.
Yeah.
So we lose the basic, again, the sensitivities that are required to work to make the world a better place.
Yeah. So, do you think people are going to be more prone to violence now that they're basically like losing that connection?
It's an
Or,
interesting question. It's an interesting question. I don't know, but I I really need to try and think that one through. It might be. It might be the case.
yeah, it's, I mean, it's something to definitely think about because how we're going, and I mean, where we end up, like, it's going to be a total different world to say 10, 20 years now.
Yeah,
Like, technology is just advancing super fast. Next thing you
yeah.
know, we're not even going to have human employees. We're just going to have a bunch of like robots.
That's right. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And what does that mean? Like, how do people eat?
Yeah.
Right? So, I've got some perspective. I'm 72 years old. The world has changed a lot since I was a young man. It's very different. It's very, very different.
Yeah.
In some ways, it's much better, but in other ways, it's much worse.
Yeah, like with medical advancements, people are living longer now because medicine has
Oh
advanced.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I had just over the last few years 3 joints replaced. It's amazing. It's amazing what they can do.
And that's one of the good things about AI. But AI is good when it's used as a tool, but not as a interacting or interactive model,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be seen as a friend. It's yeah, it's a tool. It's a servant.
Oh
It's a
yeah.
servant.
Yeah.
Uh, But it's becoming a substitute for, as you pointed out, a substitute for human relations.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I think it's due to the fact that people are less connected with each other, and so there's the social media. So people crave that human connection, and they can't really get it.
right, yes, because
Yeah.
their lives are so fragmented, and so they get a substitute from a machine. Yeah,
Yeah. And I
I
mean,
think that's probably right.
yeah, it's something interesting that we don't really quite know how it's going to turn out. Like, we can't know. We could only speculate that it could either be good, it could either be bad.
Hmm.
But to understand the exact thing that's going to happen in the future, like, we just don't
We
know.
don't know. We
Yeah.
don't know.
And
And we might be just, speeding along into something which is disastrous. We
Hmm.
might be.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing because you mentioned that you're 72 and the world is much different now than it was. One
Yeah.
of those things could be probably uh, living in a world that's not recognizable to how it once was,
Hmm.
and that is just going to continue happening. And it's like for kids that are living in the current age, the world is not much different to them because they don't really know much
That's
else.
right. They don't know anything different. Yeah.
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 And that's one of the things. But the only thing that you could really do is just ride the wave and just hope for the best.
Oh, for the best. And you know, look, I think all of us have ways of not only hoping for the best, but working for the best.
Hmm.
Right? You got a podcast.
Yeah.
That's important.
Hmm.
Your voice can be heard. I write. That's important.
Hmm.
Teachers teach.
Right.
And we're all, if we take this seriously, I think we all have a responsibility to do what we can.
Hmm.
That's not magical. Um, it's not miraculous. It's just trying to do the right thing as we see it. But it's
Yeah.
very easy to kind of give up and think, well, you know, things will just happen as they happen, and
Hmm.
I can't have any impact. But if everyone says that, then indeed, no one has any impact. They're just
Hmm.
passengers on that speeding train.
Hmm. Yeah, and I mean, you could either be the passenger or you could be the one driving,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
that's right.
Yeah,
That's right.
and I think that's a pretty good metaphor because, especially right now in these modern times, there's people that are passengers and just riding whatever train they are,
Yeah.
and then the
Hmm.
whatever you call the one that manages the train,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're basically the gatekeepers of the F information, so
Yeah.
they get to control where we go, and
That's right. And what we see and what we think. And, if they control the information, they control our minds.
yeah, and those who control the
Right.
information control also who we see as less than human.
Exactly. And
Right.
that's always been the case.
Yeah.
If you look, one of the things, if you go back 1,000 years,
Mhm.
there was dehumanization, but the way that people got other people to dehumanize others was different than it is now, because most people, say, in Europe couldn't read.
Mhm.
So it was with art, it was with plays and things like that. And then, when the printing press is invented and literacy increases, then this kind of dehumanizing propaganda could be circulated much more
Mhm.
effectively and more quickly. The Nazis realized the radio was really important. They could pump it right into people's homes. So
Mhm.
one of their projects was to develop a radio that ordinary Germans could afford. And there's plenty of entertainment, but along with that entertainment was propaganda, dehumanizing propaganda. So with each improvement in
Mhm.
communication technology, we get more effective circulation of information, but also misinformation.
Mhm.
And that's where we are now. I mean, it's the internet is a wonderful thing,
Uh-huh.
but it's also a dangerous thing
Mhm.
because of the misinformation that flies around the speed of light.
Mhm. Yeah, no, yeah, the internet is able to spread misinformation like a wildfire,
Yeah, yeah,
and that's really scary because now you have people fighting against each other over information that's not even accurate, and
oh yeah, 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 yeah.
right.
And of course then the the algorithms can isolate people so they don't are not presented with
Mm-hmm.
alternative points of view. People huddle together in their little groups and so on, and they're insulated from anything which would contradict their view of the world. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I really make it a point to try to interact with, uh, you know, neo-Nazis and white supremacists and so on,
Mm-hmm.
because I want to change their minds.
Mm-hmm.
And they're if I just segregated myself from them, I can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And if I came in with the attitude of shaming them, I can't do that either.
Mm-hmm.
I want to have conversations with people. I want to say, well, gosh, how did you get that idea?
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about that. What about so and so? And they see I'm not trying to hurt them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm interested in them. And that's very disarming, you see. That's if you come in, with guns blazing, people are going to resist.
Oh yeah.
We need to be able to talk to each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it seems. I mean, recently, Charlie Kirk got assassinated, and
Yeah,
he really pushed this idea of like speaking with one another, even though a lot of his positions were on one side, but I mean that's not even like the issue here. Is
yeah,
that what I'm trying to say is that he tried to make a certain point and people would come and try to make their own point, and although
yeah.
he like that was what he was doing, like his whole thing was trying to defend his points, but the thing
That's right.
is that
Yeah,
we need to speak with one another to understand how the other person thinks, and
yeah,
you could change someone else's mind,
yeah.
and not having that ability is really dangerous.
That's right. And you have to put yourself on the line when you do that. I
Hmm.
mean, you can't fake it, right?
Right.
People know if you're faking it. You have to be actually open with
Hmm.
people and open to the possibility maybe they'll change your mind.
Yeah.
That's what a real conversation is, right? A real dialogue
Hmm.
with people.
Yeah.
But yeah,
You
we
know,
need a lot more of that.
and one other point is that even when it comes to podcasts, and people make the case that podcasts are independent media, but it's not really the case if
Hmm.
everyone's algorithm is built differently and
Yes,
specifically for that person. So
yes,
even if you have a podcast and you're expressing your opinions and you're saying that I'm independent, no
yeah,
one's telling me what to say, but
yeah,
their opinions are still being formed by their specific algorithm,
yeah, yeah.
right?
That is the case.
Yeah, so I think that's a good point to leave it at,
Yeah,
because who knows what's going to happen, but we have an idea of what is going to happen.
we'll see.
We'll
We'll
see.
see.
Well,
Yeah.
well, thank you for joining me on the podcast.
Thank you for inviting me. Nice talking to you.
It's great talking to you.
Take, take care now.
Take care.